Did you know a study revealed that only 9% of Jehovah's Witnesses in the United States hold an undergraduate degree? That is significantly lower than the national average of 30.4%, making this the lowest percentage among all religious groups that were surveyed. Yeah, and that same study also found that 63% of Jehovah's Witnesses have a high school education or less, compared to 41% of the general population of America. But where am I going with this? Because approximately 48% of Jehovah's Witnesses in America live in households earning less than $30,000 annually, compared to 31% of the general population. And here's where I'm actually going with this. The Jehovah's Witnesses are overrepresented by minority groups. In America, 23% of their population identifies as Latino or Black, while these groups within the Jehovah's Witnesses make up 46% of their population. Some other studies actually report that 36% of the Jehovah's Witnesses population is actually white, 32% Hispanic, 27% Black, and 6% as another race or mixed race. Now, when you take that whole population and you put it together, 65% of it, roughly 2/3, is women and 35% is men. Now, who actually suffers when the Jehovah's Witnesses hate on and discourage their members from pursuing a higher education? Let's talk about it. The Jehovah's Witnesses have a very long history of discouraging higher education amongst their members. While they do not explicitly forbid it, their teachings, publications, and speeches from the governing body makes it well known that they do. Let's unpack it. As always, there are different chapters for this video. If you want to skip to a specific one, you can just navigate that at the bottom of your screen. At the end, we're going to have a bonus chapter actually, and we're going to talk about the real life consequences of actually not going to school. Yeah. Firstly, the Jehovah's Witnesses hate higher education because it encourages critical thinking. What is critical thinking? Critical thinking is you as an individual, emphasis on individual, being able to take in information, analyze it objectively, identify the biases, and then form a reasoned judgment or conclusion going beyond simple acceptance of information. See, when it comes to higher education institutions, they're going to teach you how to think critically and question authority. They're going to make you think independently, think for yourself, how to do research, and most importantly, expose you to different world views. And when we say different world views, we're not just saying how you see the world. This is also applicable in your work, in your actual assignments, your research papers, your exams. You will be asked, what paradigm are you using? That is a world view in itself. So your small little JW mind is not going to cut it. For example, you thinking that 8 billion people on this planet who are predicted to be, I think, 10 billion by the year 2050. I'm not too sure about that, but what I do know for a fact is that 1 in 4 people by the year 2050 will be African. Crazy. But yes, how can we expect all of these people to have one world view, for example, and all of them be Christian, all of them be Jehovah's Witnesses? That's not possible. We all have different diet preferences, for example. Some of us are vegan, some of us are pescatarian, some of us are on the keto diet, some of us are banting, some of us just eat anything. Yet there's an expectation that when it comes to faith, we must all be the same. How is that possible? That type of thinking gets quickly destroyed once you step foot onto a university. And this is dangerous for a high control group like the Jehovah's Witnesses, who rely on strict doctrinal control and discourage questioning their teachings. Now, there's always someone who's going to say, that is not true. JW does not discourage people from going to university. But then you have a Watchtower article from 2011 warning people, saying that Satan uses higher education to instill doubt in Jehovah's people. Yeah. The governing body fears that the exposure to circular knowledge, especially history, philosophy, and science, and that's why I urge everyone, just go to university. It does not matter what you study, whether it's the humanities, whether it's in science, whatever faculty, just go to university, because it's going to help you recognize contradictions in the religion's teachings. Many former Jehovah's Witnesses, including myself, recognize that when we went to university, it was our turning point in realizing that the organization was controlling our beliefs. Then there is fear of worldly influence and bad associations, according to the Jehovah's Witnesses, who teach that the world outside of the religion is controlled by Satan. Therefore, universities are dangerous places where young people can be exposed to immoral behavior, such as premarital relationships, partying, and using substances. Then they also think that young people will be exposed to atheist and scientific perspectives that contradict their biblical beliefs. And of course, they will form friendships and relationships with non-Jehovah's Witnesses, which could weaken their loyalties to the religion. They repeatedly warn their members within their publications about the dangers of associating with worldly people, claiming that college students often lose their faith due to peer pressure and exposure to circular ideas. But we know that this is all a front to basically deter people from going to university, because once they go to university, people are informed, they can critically think for themselves, and then what? They can't control them anymore. See, what the Jehovah's Witnesses actually want is for people to prioritize the religion over their careers. And this is something we spoke about in last week's video, where we talked about the influence of the Jehovah's Witnesses on children and their development. If you want to know more about that, check out last week's video. But higher education is seen as a distraction from spiritual responsibilities. The organization encourages young members to skip college and focus on full-time religious work. Do you know what this includes? Becoming a pioneer, so basically preaching full-time, selling their books to the general public, or serving at Bethel headquarters where you're working for free for the organization. Or lastly, you can become a ministerial servant or an elder, a position of leadership within the congregation. Okay, fine, so you do need a job. Well, they're going to promote to you a low-paying job or working part-time so that you can spend more of your time doing religious activities instead of advancing your career. In a 2015 convention talk, a governing body member, Anthony Morris, said that, would you encourage your child to pursue a career in this system of things? If so, you are promoting something that could lead them away from Jehovah. And where is he now? Then we also have Stephen Lett, who said in 2018 in a JW broadcasting episode that higher education is spiritually and morally dangerous, warning that universities promote thinking that could lead witnesses away from their faith. I wonder why. We also have David Splain. He also spoke against higher education, stating that it encourages independent thinking, which is seen as a threat to obedience within the organization. Remember what we spoke about in the beginning, guys? Are you seeing how the dots connect? This pressure leaves so many Jehovah's Witnesses stuck in low-income jobs. And who suffers the most? Who's affected the most by this? Remember the stats I shared in the beginning, guys? It is people of color and women. They are the people who suffer the most at the hands of this religion. When we say that the Jehovah's Witnesses are an enabler and an enforcer of colonization, we are not just sharing catchy phrases and trying to be cool, but we are sharing the facts, what we are seeing play right out before our eyes. We are seeing people of color still being oppressed by religion in 2025, a religion that's making sure you stay poor and your future generations at that. And it's so sad to see how it's the very same people of color oppressing themselves because they do not want to let go. I think we are all getting the picture as to why the Jehovah's Witnesses fear higher education so much. They know that they are going to lose control over their members. No matter how an individual decides to attend a university, be it online or in person, You are going to meet new people at school. You are going to learn about different cultures and religions. You are going to gain financial independence, most importantly, and have access to unfiltered information. Eventually, this experience is going to force you to start questioning your JW experience and just the religion as a whole. And if you have the courage, you are going to leave, because staying is even more painful. And that's what the governing body hates. The governing body only wants members to be dependent on them, both financially and spiritually. Because once a member gets a good education, secures a high-paying job, and expands their social circle, they are less likely to stay in a restrictive religious group. That is why Watchtower demonizes higher education at every chance they get. In their articles, at conventions, at meetings, they will tell you that a higher education leads to pride, arrogance, and spiritual destruction, when in fact it just leads you to your own independence. One tactic that the Jehovah's Witnesses use to deter their members from pursuing a higher education is using the endless near mentality. For decades now, and approaching centuries actually, the Jehovah's Witnesses have been telling people that Armageddon is just around the corner. And if the world is ending soon, why would someone waste their time in getting a degree? Remember, in the 70s, they told people do not pursue a higher education because the world is supposedly ending by 1975. Did that happen? No. I have a whole video detailing all of the failed prophecies of the Jehovah's Witnesses. If you haven't checked it out, you need to. You will actually see how long they've been wasting people's time and destroying lives. And then in the 1990s and 2000s, Watchtower has still been continuing to teach people that a higher education is a waste of time because Jehovah will soon be destroying the current system. And in recent years, the messaging has not changed. It has stayed the same. They are urging people to focus on Jehovah's work and not an education or a career. And this belief has left thousands of Jehovah's Witnesses, if not millions, financially unprepared for real life. Many regret skipping college when they realize they actually needed a stable income to support themselves and their families. Now let's talk about the real life consequences of avoiding a higher education. And initially I wanted to say this part is for the young people, but this part is for everyone. There is no time limit on going to school or pursuing your dreams. At any age you can do it, because once you realize that the anti-education stance from the Jehovah's Witnesses is just a means to keep you financially struggling and to rely on low-paying jobs, you're going to be pissed. You're actually going to be annoyed. You're going to regret not pursuing your dreams because you were pressurized to prioritize religious work by some random men in New York and random men in your congregation. Do not let that happen to you. You're going to have difficulty leaving the religion because you lack financial independence. Do not find yourself realizing too late that you have been misled about a higher education, because many Jehovah's Witnesses who left the religion and then later pursued a college degree found that their fears about a higher education were actually unfounded, and they discovered their freedom, critical thinking. And what happened to them? They grew personally. They experienced personal growth, things that the organization wants to keep away from you. Okay, now let's wrap up this video because that was a mouthful, but we truly unpacked today why the Jehovah's Witnesses really hate a higher education. Let's remind ourselves once again that their negative stance against a higher education is not about protecting you as a member. It's about controlling you, controlling your life and what you do and what they can take from you, your resources, your time, your energy, your free labor. By discouraging a higher education, the governing body does what? 1. It prevents members from questioning the religion. 2. Keeps them financially dependent on the organization. 3. Limits their exposure to new ideas and people. And 4. Ensures that they stay committed to the religious work instead of personal growth. Now, for those who were raised as Jehovah's Witnesses, breaking free from this mindset can be very challenging. And that's why I say, as a Jehovah's Witness, whether you grew up in the religion or you were part of the religion, You need to have a higher education, no matter what anyone says. Do not listen to the general public when they say you don't need to go to university. University is a waste of time, especially if you're an entrepreneur. Look at all of these billionaires who dropped out of university. That is not you. You are secluded from the rest of the world. You don't think like the rest of the world. You need to re-immerse yourself into the world and learn how things actually work. And that's why when people leave this religion and they pursue a higher education, it opens doors to a better life for them. I want to thank you all so much for watching this video, and I will see you all in the next one. Bye.